Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of College Football Showdown presented by Pride Sports World. And happy Black Friday to all you shoppers out there standing in that cold ass line for a brand new TV. But also the best thing is happy Thanksgiving to everybody that I didn't get to see yesterday, including this man right here, Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz.blog. Everybody knows who he is, and I am your host for this show here today. As always, every Friday, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast here at Private Sports World. And in case you missed us, you can catch us on all streaming platforms, including Pandora now, because we on there now too. And you catch us live here.
Oh, man, you just want to take over, don't you?
I just want to take over. I want everything, and then you catch us live right now on the Huddle Sports Network right now, baby. Christian, what's going on, my man?
Oh man, I can't believe we are at the finish line of the regular season in college football, but something is just telling me that we're just getting started. With conference championship week coming up, which I know you and I are gonna have a lot to talk about. But this is almost like conference championship eve because there's still a lot to be determined. Got a lot of big matchups. It's rivalry week. I'm ready to talk about it, and I know we got a lot to talk about from the previous week as well. Izzy.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And including today. I mean, there was some football on today. Colorado just destroying Oklahoma State and putting them. I mean, they've been put out their misery, but I mean, completely just put them out their misery today. 52-0. I didn't even know they were playing today. And then until I saw TJ's, Travis Hunter should be Heisman. I don't care what anybody says. Yeah, Travis Hunter had an interception and 3 touchdowns today. He's pretty fucking fantastic. But I don't know if he's as fantastic as that boy at Boise State. 226 yards and a touchdown today.
And I think this was either his 4th or his 5th 200-yard game on the
Ashton Jeanty.
Ashton Jeanty. Izzy. I think me and you were getting old now because that's a bad boy. Man, he's
a bad boy, man. He's got an interesting story too.
Yeah,
we probably can get into it later. But he started playing football in high school, but his dad is in the military, so they were in I want to say Germany. I think he started playing football in like Germany or somewhere overseas like that, where they have different football teams on the different naval bases for the high schools out there. So he started out there. And his first 2 games actually playing, he was such a great athlete that they wanted him to play quarterback. But then they're like, he wasn't like the greatest. Like he always just took off and run. So they just put him out at running back. And like it was just on ever since then. Like he like broke a whole bunch of records. And they like he went to he's like, I want to go back to play football in the States. Told his mom and them. Sent me back to the States. I guess they had family back there. So he went to go play football in Texas. And then, man, I mean, ever since he got to college, man, he's just been every year has gotten better and better and better. I mean, he's closing in. He's already passed 2,000 yards. He's closing in. He's got 2 more games to do it, I think, to break Barry's record. He's close. He's going to come very close to breaking that rushing record. I don't know about that touchdown record, though. Because he only got 1 touchdown today. He's legit got to have. I think he needs like 8 or 9 more.
Yeah, and just think about it. The Heisman it's basically an MVP award, Izzy. And I just look at it as taking away a specific player, and the whole dynamic of the team is different. You take Ashton away from Boise State, and they are not anywhere close to being the team that they are today.
Well, currently, right now, if the season ended today, Boise State would be a top 4 seed in the CFP.
And ask yourself this. I mean, you just kind of proved my point. Ask yourself this. If he's not on that team, are we talking about Boise State being a
no, that team's pedestrian. He makes them like that team across the board They're average Joes, and he's a superstar.
Bingo.
So so it's like it's like how any other great quarterback elevates their team. He elevates his team play because the defense knows, hey, if we get the ball back, we get it in the hands of Ashton Zenzi, there could be a score. Then we get up 7, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 points. We got a chance to win the game. I mean, we saw it early on, right? Against Oregon. They played Oregon. They had the lead at some point in that game. So
he's put together the best season I've seen from a running back since Derrick Henry when he won that Heisman.
Yeah.
Because Derrick Henry that year was on a whole different level in 2000.
Yeah. And then Travis Hunter. I mean, Travis Hunter's been amazing. I mean, 3 touchdowns today, catching. He had an interception. I mean, and Dion was right about him not being nominated as a finalist for the Thorpe Award. When nobody's really throwing his way, he still got 4 or 5 picks this season. He's been really a shutdown cornerback all season long for Colorado, and it's. But the 3 guys that I mentioned, like I think it's Malachi Storks, I think it's Caleb Downs, and it's the Jahad Barron from if I'm not, I think I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I think it's Jahad or Jahad Barron from Texas. All 3 of those guys are well worth deserving of winning the Thorpe Award, though. Just putting that out there. Just putting that out there. Yeah. But he's literally a finalist for every other damn award. He's literally a finalist for the Maxwell Award and the Lombardi Award, which is given to the best defensive player. Whether it's a linebacker or a cornerback. He's gonna come back with a bunch of hardware. Is what I'm saying. Like,
absolutely.
It's. You know what I mean? It doesn't even matter. So anyways, moving on next to the Week 13 headlines. And we got some things to talk about from last week. As we'll start with the main headline, which is number 2 Ohio State routing number 5 Indiana in Columbus. This was Christian's shameless plug of the week last week. So in case you missed that article, go ahead and check it out. But he predicted Ohio State to win this game. I don't think you predicted them to win by this much, 38-15, but it looked like Ohio State was clicking on all cylinders. And hey, man, like my man Meek Mill says, it's levels to this. It's levels to it.
Yeah, it really is. But this game went exactly how I told you and Matt last Friday night when we were recording College Football Showdown. Both defenses were going to get a feel for one another. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is what they do. This is what the opponent does. Indiana, they play a lot of zone because they rely heavily on the front 4 to get home to the quarterback without blitzing. And not a lot of teams can do that today. But like you just said, there's levels to this. Ohio State made their adjustments. They kept their foot on the gas, entering the 3rd quarter, never looked back. This is a humbling loss. I can't even say humbling, but I think everybody kind of saw this coming. This puts Ohio State in the driver's seat now. They know they have to handle business tomorrow, and I know we're going to talk about that. But Indiana just couldn't get much of anything going. Tyson Lawton couldn't get the running game going. Curtis Rourke, he was under pressure throughout the game, and I love what Ohio State did offensively. Indiana did a great job of bottling up Jeremiah Williams and Emeka Egbuka. So who does Will Howard turn to? Carnell Tate. This is why you have multiple weapons. Ohio State was able to kind of get that running game going, get Judkins out in space, create with a linebacker. And, this is a big win for Ohio State.
Big win for Ohio State. A really good game for Will Howard. He had 22 of 26. Was almost perfect. He threw a pick on one of those incompletions. 2 touchdowns in the air, and they were able to get the ground game going. And I like what you said. They made those second half adjustments. It was a 14-7 ball game. The 2 defenses, like you said, were kind of getting a feeling for each other. But hey, this doesn't knock Indiana out the college football playoff. We'll talk about it after this, but they're still in the thick of things of being in the 12-team bracket. Exactly. They just ran into a buzzsaw. Ohio State. There's not many teams better than Ohio State. The only team that was able to beat them was the number 1 team in the nation in Oregon. And so there's not many teams that are better than Ohio State that I can name of. Maybe Texas, But we won't know until we see them play. So Ohio State is one of the best teams in the nation. There's nothing to hang your hat on. It's hard to win in Columbus. It's especially when you haven't really. We talked about it. They haven't really been tested all year. Indiana, we didn't think they would be a great team. We thought they'd be improved with Signetti at the helm, but we didn't think they'd be this good coming into it. So when you have a schedule that doesn't really challenge you as much as it should have, then you go up against Ohio State, one of the best teams in the nation, and it's kind of like they're just clicking on all cylinders. It's hard to beat them in the shoe. They got all the momentum, and who knows if these two teams played on equal playing field in terms of like the Sugar Bowl or something like that, or the Orange Bowl, or the Rose Bowl, whatever the case is. If they played on a neutral ground, it might be a different story. Who knows? But anyways, moving on to the next timeline, we got unranked Oklahoma. They stormed the field. They stormed it like Norman. Oklahoma Sooners upset the number 7 Alabama Crimson Tide. Man, don't get pissed about the Tide. What the Tide got, they asses kicked there in Norman, Oklahoma. 24-3. This game wasn't really close. Jalen Milroe is just as when we start to talk great about this guy, he throws 3 picks against Oklahoma. And the Sooners were just running all over, especially Jackson Arnold, the quarterback. 131 yards on 25 carries. I mean, when I talk about, I see a weakness. When the coach see a weakness, I see a weakness in this Alabama defense. They can't defend the quarterback run as much. They can't defend the quarterback when he's getting out the pocket on those quarterback runs, as we've seen against Vanderbilt, as we've seen against other teams this season that Alabama has played, right? Oklahoma saw something, and then that defense came out to play, Christian. They wasn't playing no games. They bottled up. They made Jalen Milroe. They made Jalen Milroe a pocket passer. He only had 7 carries. He was only sacked once, but they bottled him up. Didn't let him get outside the pocket, and that offense was just in shambles. And man, I guess my thoughts on this is, I guess my thoughts to you, or my question to you is like, was Kalen DeBoer the right hire for Alabama?
Yeah,
3 losses.
Listen, I think he was, and I think a lot of people, not you, but I think a lot of people are over exaggerating. This is Kalen's first year, and Kalen's a winner. I mean, this is a guy that just took a team to the national championship in the Washington Huskies. Now, I know they didn't win it, but you look at Kalen's track record. I think he's like 110 and maybe 16 over his career. So where he goes, the success follows. But listen, this is a situation where this ain't the Pac-12. This is the SEC. It's a little bit tougher. The competition is a little bit stronger. The games are a little bit more meaningful. And I think he's going to be just fine. This is his first year, and look at who he's coming in after. Nick Saban, which leads me to say this, Izzy, and I think you know where I'm going with this. Nick Saban struggled his first year, and they were ready. They were chewing him out. But I think he turned out just fine because he ends up becoming, I don't know, the greatest college football coach of all time. But you said it best. Oklahoma's game plan was absolutely phenomenal. They said, look, Jalen's not running that ball tonight. If he's going to beat us, he's throwing the ball over the numbers and from the pocket. We'll let him move within the pocket, but we're going to play with wide 9. We're going to play with our defensive ends 5 and 6 yards off the ball, and we're going to contain him every time. We're going to collapse his pocket, and we're going to dare him to beat us with his arm. And that's exactly what happened. This is a piss poor effort from Alabama. No other term really needs to be used for that. But I also want to give Brent Venables a lot of credit because this is a quality win for him. But you also mentioned another thing about Alabama and their ability to stop mobile quarterbacks. They're not built to stop mobile quarterbacks. Look at all those years when they were playing Clemson in national championships. Deshaun Watson was running on them. Yeah, he was throwing it, but he was running on them. They struggled against mobile quarterbacks. I mean, Diego from Vanderbilt,
Yes, sir.
he
Diego
ran on
Fowler.
them. Morris Sellers had a couple of runs on them. Nico had a couple of runs on them. So you get the trend here, but what Jackson Arnold did to them was just egregious.
That's why I said they struggled a little bit this year against those mobile quarterbacks. So I guess looking at this Alabama team, I just think sometimes they just don't have that nastiness to them like they had against Nick Saban, and that's fine. I mean, I think Caleb DeBoer is, yes, like you say, he's a winner. He won national championships at the NAIA level.
Yeah.
He turned Fresno State around. He went to Washington. He turned them around and got them into the national championship last year. And then he's a hot commodity. He's a hot guy on the block. But I do think that this Alabama team was soft this year. They were soft. They were soft. I mean, Nick Saban, after a big win against Georgia, you lay an egg, and you lose you lose to Vanderbilt. It's that Nick Saban doesn't allow that to happen. And I know that the guys can be like, "Whoa, Nick Saban!" He has let something like that happen before, but it's like it didn't look like this. It didn't look like this. So I kind of question. I kind of disagree in a way. I question the Caleb DeBoer hire. I just think his style of football, that West Coast style of football, don't work with these Southern boys like that. That's just me though. That's just me though. When you go to the SEC, you got to have a different mentality. You can't be pretty. You can't be trying to do East-West plays. You got to run North-South. Yeah. You gotta keep it simple sometimes. And I just think that this team doesn't have no nastiness to him like it would like a Nick Saban team. But I might be wrong. But I shout out to Oklahoma. This is a big win for them, big program changer for them. This is the biggest win under Brent Venables era right here. This is going to bring some recruits in, and I'm happy for the program here. Next headline: Florida upsetting number 9 Ole Miss in the Swamp, and this one was absolute. This was a doozy. I mean, at the end, I've never seen Jackson Dart make as many mistakes as I have seen him make in the last 10 minutes of playing football in that football game.
Right.
He threw 2 interceptions. He threw an interception that was called back. Then right after it, he threw another interception.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he threw back-to-back interceptions to give Florida the ball. DJ Lagway, I said this, he'll play well, at the home crowd. 10-17, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, only 1 interception. But this Florida defense was out there flying around the field, and I don't know, man. I think next year this team will take a big leap next year, especially under DJ Lagway. I think Billy Napier finally, has found the quarterback that he can look forward to in the future of this team for at least for the next couple years. We're done with the Graham Mertz shit, and then I'm serious. We're done with that. DJ Lagway is our quarterback. Thank you, Billy Napier, for finally coming around. But I think this Florida team has so much young talent that they're going to be bringing back next season. But what a killer for Ole Miss. They just can never get, Lane Kiffin, they just pretty much eliminated them from the college football playoff here.
Yeah, they really did. And you said it best. That Florida defense was absolutely amazing. Swarming to the ball, and they were doing it collectively as a unit. Izzy, you played on the defensive side. Isn't it a great feeling when all of you as one unit can swarm to that football and make plays, because everybody feeds off the other's energy? And that's exactly what you saw in the Swamp against Ole Miss. And they just threw Jackson Dart off his spot. He likes to take his time in the pocket, and they made him throw that ball sooner than what he wanted to. And it just seems like Florida's playing hard for Billy Napier. And, you want to say something. Go on and say
this. Hey, no. I just want to say this Florida team, they have so many underclassmen. Look, next year, I think they'll be a top 10 team. I think next year they'll be a top 10 team. This team's got all the makings to be a national championship contending team next season.
Yeah.
They got a bunch of athletic guys, big physical guys. You know, all Billy Napier just has to have that offense just buy in and be consistent. But defensively, they got a whole bunch of underclassmen coming back. If these guys come back like this next season, watch out for the Florida Gators. That's all I got to say. This is a big win for them too, by the way. And I like the fact that their crowd didn't storm the field because it's like we're the University of Florida. We don't do that shit against Ole Miss.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We don't storm the field against teams like Ole Miss. We are the precedent.
Look, now, if it were a game against Texas or Georgia or Alabama,
you're right.
Then we looking at this in a completely different.
Right. We're storming the field, but we ain't storming the field against Ole Miss, and I like that from their fans. Like, yo, this is a big win, but it ain't big enough to storm the field on. But it's a big win though for this team. So,
right.
That's all I got. That's all I got to say right there. It was a hell of a win though. Next headline, we got Arizona State in the Big 12 driver's seat after beating BYU. Quick thoughts on Arizona State winning. I know I set this one for Matt James, but I don't think he's going to be on the.
Yeah, what a game. Arizona State's been one of those teams that you didn't know what to expect from them. They've truly come out of left field. I kind of get a TCU vibe from them. Just didn't know what to expect. You know, and now look, they're probably going to be playing in the conference championship.
Yeah, they're in the driver's seat to be in the conference championship. And this was actually had a weird ending where the fans stormed the field prematurely and then the ref tried to put 1 second back on the clock. Like, that was crazy. But anyways, Arizona State, got the job done. They're in the driver's seat. This team has been playing great football. Ken Scatteraboo, 147 yards, 3 touchdowns.
You've been on high the ground all year long, and
he's a power back that just can catch the ball out the backfield. He reminds me of who was that one? I forget who that running back was, but he's a bigger version of him from New England. The D3. No, not LeGarrette Blount. Danny Whitehead. You're like Danny Whitehead. Remember Danny Whitehead, Danny Whitehead? He's just like a bigger version of Danny Whitehead. I'm not saying that because he's a white boy. Oh, wait, damn it. Should I say that? I shouldn't say that. I think I'm a little uncensored on this show. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. If ESPN and Fox Sports was looking at this, they like, man, we are not ever like this guy ever applies. We're never ever gonna hire this guy. Anyways. But no, Danny Whitehead, he just reminds me a little bit of him. He's got great balance. He can catch the ball at the backfield. But he's a nice little power back. And I like this kid, man. But they got a guy named Jordan Tyson, man, that I think he's a game changer. I think he's one of the next great wide receivers to come out of Arizona State. You know, you had Brandon Ayuk. Before that, you had well, he wasn't great. He was great in college, but he was terrible in New England.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, Arizona State definitely, you know, it's got another nice young wide receiver in Jordan Tyson. I like this team, the way they play defense as well. And Coach Dillingham got them believing. And they're in the driver's seat to the Big 12. And then the last headline, Colorado, number 16, Colorado, upset by Kansas in Kansas City in Arrowhead Stadium. And this was, I'll say this right here. Colorado was, you know, they basically need a lot of help this week. They got their win, but they need, like Arizona, they need some teams to lose in order to make the Big 12 championship game, in order to make the CFP or whatever the case is. So they don't control their destiny anymore. But man, I said it. Look. Playing Kansas, dude, is right now I would not want to play that team. Like in Colorado, just fell into that threat that, you know, Kansas was just on a mission. They just been beating ranked teams at the end of the season, and this is really a Kansas team that really shouldn't have been as bad as they were. I know they had some injuries early on in the season, but this is the Kansas team that we all thought that we would see from the start of the season. Right here.
Yeah, really. And there was somebody on this panel, Izzy, that said Kansas would beat Colorado. I
Yeah,
called this up. So I saw this coming
yeah.
from a mile away, but it just seemed like Kansas played with a nastiness that Colorado just couldn't keep up with. And
Mm-mm.
this is one of my first times seeing Devin Neal play on the year. And you want to talk about great running backs in the sport. This
Ooh,
kid is a real deal. He ran for 207 yards.
three
And that just goes to
touchdowns.
show you one thing. Colorado still can't stop the run. They can do it
Mm.
against, yeah. But when a team consistently pounds the rock and a team consistently wants to run the football down your throat, they're telling you, hey, we're running this ball until you can stop it. Plain and simple. And they just couldn't, they just got in their own way. I feel countless penalties, Shador touching referees and shoving referees. And yeah, this was a game that Kansas just won it and they went and took it.
Well, yeah, Kansas did do that. There was a dirty hit on Shador. I did not
Yeah,
like
that
that.
definitely
But 287 total yards, 80 on in the air, 80 catching the ball, a 207 on the ground, and 4 total touchdowns for Devin Neal in this game. He was literally just destroying his defense. And Travis Hunter, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a great game himself. They couldn't stop him. But I like what Prime said after the game is you guys got intoxicated by success. You were intoxicated by success. Everybody from the players to the coaches were intoxicated by success and came out there and just completely got your butts handed to you. And I saw some plays that Kansas was running that I said, man, this dude Lance Leopold, man, he's got some, man, they got some shit down there in terms of like the creativity in using Devin Neal. And
yeah.
Devin Neal, he's one of the Devin Neal is one of the most complete running backs that you will see in college football.
I agree.
And he will be playing on Sundays. You'll for sure will see his name on an NFL roster. He will be drafted. He will be playing on Sundays, and he will be making an impact because he's a guy that can run between the tackles, run outside the tackles. He can catch the ball at the backfield. He's got a nice little route tree. He's got great hands. He's got a nose for the end zone. He runs forward behind his pads. He's a very, very good running back, very good player, and had a great 4 years for the University of Kansas. By the way, senior on that team and broke some records. Probably one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in KU history. Anyways, moving forward,
who he reminds me of? He reminds me a little bit of Jerome Ford, who played for the Cleveland.
I like that. I like Jerome Ford comparison. That's a good one. Yeah, Jerome Ford definitely runs right behind his pads too. He's a nice leaning forward. He gets that extra yard or two even when he stopped. But moving on to the college football playoff bracket, we got I think this is the week 4 bracket here. And this is, basically the top 4 seeds are Oregon, Texas, Miami, Boise State, and then you got, and then if it ended today, these would be the first round matchups. Would be number 5 Ohio State going up against Arizona State, who they project to win the Big 12. Then you got number 6 Penn State, who came off of a really close win, 1-point win against Minnesota. I almost thought I had that one in the book with my upset of the week. But Penn State wins that one. They're number 6. They're actually going against Indiana, who I just mentioned. Indiana would, be, even after that loss against Ohio State, they're still, in the thick of things of the CFP. And then Notre Dame at number 7 going up against number 10 SMU. And then we have Georgia going up against Tennessee. And what that would be a hell of a first round matchup. That'd be a hell of a rematch right there. And then the first 4 outs, I believe, the first 4 out are going to be Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Arizona State. And I know Team C, Clemson there at number 12, but people are not, they're saying, Clemson is not going to get in because, Boise State, or in favor of Arizona State, who they project to win the Big 12 title. So they would be an odd man out as well out of the top 12. And then you got Tulane, Iowa State, BYU, Texas A&M, Missouri, UNLV, Illinois, Kansas State, and Colorado, with the rest of the top 25 in the CFP bracket. But some of the first round matchups, just quick thoughts on some of these projected first round matchups
Look,
here.
I'd be crazy if I wasn't looking at Georgia and Tennessee. We just saw these two teams a couple weeks ago,
Yes,
and
sir.
the game that saved Georgia's season. Carson Beck, when he plays well, you get good Georgia. When he struggles, you get bad Georgia because defenses tee off on him. And Tennessee, they've been great this year on both sides of the ball. I know this is a young offense with Nico and Squirrel White, but what other weapon outside of Squirrel really scares you on the Tennessee offense? But good things happen when Dylan Sampson is getting the
Running the
touches.
ball.
And that's another great running back. The value of the running back is high, not just in college, but in the NFL as well. We just talked about this the other day, Izzy. But yeah, that's one matchup I'm looking forward to if it were to happen. And then I look at that 7-10, that Notre Dame SMU. I mean, you almost have contrasting styles of football where Notre Dame wants to muck the game up. They want to ugly it up and run this offense through one guy, and that's Jeremiah Love. And SMU, they have a good quarterback in Kevin Jennings as well. They're well coached. If SMU would have turned that game into a shootout, I think SMU would win that game. I really do. But I look at the top four. The teams getting the buys, and obviously Oregon is on that one line. You look at Texas and the 2 line, and those I think are the 2 best teams in the country right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it came down to those 2 for the national championship. Miami at 3, Boise State at 4, which you couldn't sit here and tell me you didn't see that happening. But I think the weakest seed out of the top 4 is Miami because their defense is the worst out of every group here.
Man, their defense is Swiss cheese, man. I mean, they would go into a shootout too. Like if there's a team that going like you don't want to get into a shootout though, it is Miami though. Like I would love to see a Miami Oregon Nationals because that game would be in the 50s. I think like both teams would score crazy amount of points. But man, getting back to SMU, man, I don't think their fan base after getting the death penalty back a long time ago. I don't think their fan base ever thought that SMU, who, by the way, is part of, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, back in the 80s, SMU was a national championship contending team. Right. You remember, Eric Dickerson played for them, and they had the ponies, right? They had great running Craig James. They had some great running backs there for SMU, some great offenses back then, defenses back then. And for them to get back into the national championship picture again, all these years later is pretty remarkable. 40-something years later, 30-something years later, it's pretty remarkable. So shout out to them rebuilding that program. But yeah, no, I do like that 8-9 matchup. I think that's the most intriguing one there because they played each other a few weeks ago. If they were to play each other again, a month later or so later, I wonder what adjustments Tennessee would make against Georgia to kind of put them over the hump in that matchup. So, anyways, moving on to the Week 14 games to watch, and I start out with the first game. It's number 12 Clemson going up against number 15 South Carolina. A big game for Clemson to just stay in that ACC championship picture. They have to, win this game. This is a rivalry game, right? You got South Carolina from the SEC. You got Clemson from the ACC. How do you see this one playing out? 2, teams that are, especially South Carolina, has been hot of late down the stretch here. Who do you got winning this game?
So, Clemson, I know they dominated the Citadel by 37 points. Okay, that's great and all, but they still gave up a lot of big plays. And we said the same thing about Alabama. This Clemson defense isn't really the same. This Clemson defense used to have a ferocious defensive line, and they were able to drop back and play a lot in zone because that front 4 was able to get home consistently and on the regular. South Carolina, this team plays hard, Izzy. Saw what they did against LSU, and I think they win that game if Lenore Sellers doesn't go down. And you saw what they did to Texas A&M a couple of weeks ago. And back to the quarterback. Lenora Sellers is playing as good as some of the other big names are nationally. Against the blitz, he's been absolutely automatic. 9 touchdowns in his last 4 games, 1 interception. He's running the ball. And I remember I told you he reminds me of. I see a lot of David Garrard, who played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, in his
Welcome
game.
to the Huddle Sports Network.
My bad, brother.
Nah, you're good, bro. This game is going to come down to one matchup. This Clemson offensive line against the South Carolina defensive line that ranks pretty high up in a lot of major statistical categories in the nation. I'm going South Carolina on the road, Izzy. It's just something about this game, man. I don't know what version of Cade Klubnik we're going to get. Yeah, he's been good. And I don't know what version of Clemson's defense we're going to get.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to go with South Carolina. I think they're, a team that is, been hot. They've won their last 5-6 games here, especially the last 5. They just dominated Wolford. They won their last 5 after losing to Alabama close 27-25 and getting embarrassed by Ole Miss the week before. But yeah, I like this South Carolina team. Lenore Sellers playing some great football. He's a hell of a quarterback. Redshirt freshman guy. Kid that is a dual threat. You'll be hearing his name for a few years, from now. But they got a running back 2 of themselves, right? And Rocket Morris, right? And Rocket Sanders. My bad. And he's a guy that is a big running back that can run between the tackles, and he can blow the game open. So you guys don't want to miss this game. I think this is gonna be a good game. This is a game that you gotta circle on your radar here. And then the next game we got number 24 Kansas State versus number 18 Iowa State. And this is a big game too for Big 12. It's got Big 12 championship game aspirations right here. I think one of these 2 teams, whoever wins this game, pretty much gets in to the Big 12 championship game. Especially if Arizona State beats Arizona. But Iowa State definitely, if they win, I think Iowa State is in as well. So who you got winning this game?
I like Iowa State. I think they're going to slow this game down. They'll control the trenches. They'll dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Yeah, I think Iowa State escapes with a close one.
Yeah, definitely give me Iowa State to win this football game. I think it is going to be a close game as well. I think if Kansas State has some chances to win this game, I think you got to give the ball to Big DJ Giddens up there. And, this one's in Ames. I like this game for Iowa State as well. And if you guys are watching us on the handle, please make sure to follow us here on Facebook and Twitter as we have to get off of that Huddle Sports Network as they move on to the next show. So catch us on all streaming platforms. The podcast can be heard at Prime Sports World, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, moving on to the next game, we got number 3 Texas going up against Prime AA Hunter for Heisman. I said what I said. Is that TJ?
Yeah, listen.
What in the world? Anyways, TJ playing with the Prime Sports World thread coming at us again about this Travis Hunter thing. Anyways, at number 3 Texas going up against number 20 Texas A&M. And hey, let me tell you, man, Texas was coming off of that. They had a close win last weekend. Well, I wouldn't say close win, but I mean they kind of had some scary it was getting a little tight for them, last week, if I'm not mistaken, as they won, that football game against Kentucky. Oh, no, that was Arkansas. I'm sorry. Anyways, Kentucky was busted. Kentucky it was whatever. Anyways, Texas going up against Texas A&M. This is going to be a good game right here. How do you see this one playing out here?
Izzy, it's that time, baby.
Is it?
Let's go. On my count. 1, 2, 3.
Shameless plug number 1,
baby. Listen, Texas, they bounced back nicely since the loss to Georgia. their offense isn't necessarily explosive. It's efficient and it knows how to pick spots and they're balanced. They can run the ball just as well as they can throw the ball, right? Offensive line can get that push up front, and defensively, they're punching their opponents in the mouth. I personally think Steve Sarkisian, not only is he one of the 5 best coaches in college football, I think he may be the best offensive-minded guy in the country. Texas A&M, they've really climbed the ladder this year under Mike Elko, and it just makes you wonder, would they be in this position right now if Jimbo Fisher were still coaching? Look, like Steve Sufferdon said, what's up, Steve? Like Stevie Sufferdon said when he was on a show a couple of weeks ago, look at how much money they pay to keep him away from College Station. The matchup that's going to determine this game is the Texas offensive line against the Texas A&M pass rush. Nick Scorton is one of the best defensive players in the country that you don't hear much about. He came over as a transfer from Purdue, and he's fit in to this SEC program tremendously. I preview this one an hour before the game on the site. Make sure you check it out, thedailyblitz.blog.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. You guys don't want to catch that. You guys want to catch that hot article coming out an hour before game time, so you guys don't want to miss that. But yeah, Texas A&M coming off that got my wrong Texas team. They're coming off that loss, that triple overtime loss against George, 4 overtime loss against Auburn, where Auburn did storm the field against Texas A&M. That was a big game. I do agree with you, man. I think that Texas A&M defense is pretty stifling. I mean, and when you look at Texas A&M on the season, they have some really close losses, especially number one against the first game against Notre Dame. They did lose big to South Carolina, but then losing to Auburn 43-41 in the Iron Bowl. But they were hot. I mean, after that loss against Notre Dame, I mean they reeled off 7 straight. Yeah. And won 8 out of 9. Before another loss against Auburn. So this Texas A&M team is as solid as they come. And Marcel Reed is one of the better dual threat quarterbacks that you'll see. If Texas is for real, they will beat Texas A&M. I'm actually gonna go Texas against. I'm actually gonna go Texas A&M over number 3 Texas as the upset of the week. And I look, man, I just think that Marcel Reed, especially playing at home, I think that defense is going to settle in just right. I think they're going to give Quinn Ewers some issues. I did say that Texas did have some issues against Arkansas a little bit until that fourth quarter. They did dispose of Kentucky pretty easily, but against Arkansas 2 weeks ago, I saw something against Texas that I just didn't like. Sometimes the offense can become a little stagnant, and sometimes Quinn Ewers can have some issues, playing, being aggressive down in the later stages of the game, especially this season. Not sure what it all is. I'm not sure if it's health or whatever the case is, but I do think that this Texas team, should be able to, put up some, get some decent plays. That's where I think Texas A&M has to kind of, they have to limit the big plays, right? That Texas has, because that's what they're going to live off of. Those big plays, especially on the outside. So they have to limit those. If they can limit those, I don't think Texas runs the football well against Texas A&M.
No, I mean, I think they can.
I don't think so.
It all depends on push, if Quinn Ewers is turning the ball over left and right nonstop like that, then it could be a long day for the Texas Longhorns. Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on this game.
Absolutely. And then the next game we got on the slate, we got number 5. We got US number 5 Notre Dame going into USC, a rivalry game here on the slate in LA. We got the Notre Dame Fighting Irish pretty much just dominating every single team that they've come across ever since that Northern Illinois loss at home. They have had the highest point differential in the nation against any team by far, against any opponent this season. So how do you see this one playing out? Notre Dame, USC, 2:30 on CBS. Big game here.
I like Notre Dame. I just think the way they're playing, they're hot right now. Defensively, Jack Kaiser is leading that unit in the middle, and Jeremiah Love. When this offense travels through him, good things happen, and things open up for Riley Leonard. This is
Mm-hmm.
the best season that Marcus Freeman has had since he became the coach in South Bend. USC, I thought they were kind of showing me something in the early stages of the year, but they got back to just struggling defensively. They end up benching Miller Moss, and I think Notre Dame wins this rivalry game.
Well, I will say this. I will say this about Notre Dame. Ever since that Northern Illinois loss, I know they played against Louisville, but really they haven't really played a really solid team. Like I know they faced Navy and Army, great running teams, but you're going to go against a great running back in Woody Marks this week. You're going to have to be able to contain him. We know what the last pretty much really great running back performance was with Northern Illinois. When Ontario Brown had almost 100 yards, but he had over 100 yards catching the ball as well against Notre Dame, and that was second week of the season or so. Woody Marks is a guy that you're gonna have to game plan around, and if they focus squarely on him, hopefully Miller Marks doesn't have a great game against them, but it could go that way if they allow Woody Marks to kind of run, get that running game going for USC. But yeah, give me Notre Dame as well. That defense has been playing great. Jeremiah Love has been, like you said, 14 touchdowns on the season, rushing the football. And man, look, hey, that defense, man, Notre Dame's defense has been lights out. Pretty much all year they've been lights out. So I got to get them over USC, and they in the college football playoff from there. And then the game of the week. I know what's coming already. This is the biggest game, the biggest rivalry in all of sports. We're talking Yankees, Red Sox. We're talking Bears, Packers. We're talking, any rivalry. Think of any rivalry you want to think of, and this rivalry is up there, probably the number one rivalry. We have Michigan. We have number 2 Ohio State in the shoot, baby. And Christian, I'll start with you. I already know what's coming here.
Nah, man, I didn't preview.
Oh, you didn't preview this one?
No, I didn't. It feels so weird because
so weird. It's okay.
Michigan's
on the down year.
Yeah, but I will say this, and one thing I'm looking to see. Ohio State comes into this game with all the pressure on them. Michigan's won this game 3 years in a row, and I think the most impressive one was 2022 when they went into the shoe and just kicked Ohio State around. I mean, that was the Donovan Edwards game. That was J.J. McCarthy taking the game over. That was, Michigan's defense teeing off on C.J. Stroud before he left for the Houston Texans. And, and it was just about time because Michigan always had better teams, but Ohio State always had the edge at the most important position, which was quarterback. This year, Michigan has struggled, but the Wolverines are going to treat this game like it's their national championship. Rivalry game, and they have a chance to spoil the fun for their rivals. Ohio State's been wanting this game since last year when Michigan beat them in Ann Arbor. I can't wait to see this game because I've often referred to this matchup as the Duke and North Carolina of college football. Doesn't matter where either team is ranked. This matchup is going to garner attention, and people are going to view what's on tap for this game. But I do think Ohio State wins this game. I think Michigan's going to play them tough. Michigan's going to save their best performance for last. I'm going to take Ohio State by a field goal.
Michigan coming off a 50-6 win against Northwestern. I mean, but who hasn't beat Northwestern this season?
Me and you.
Me and you, absolutely. We haven't beat. I'm not putting on pads at all. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine putting on pads right now. I'd be at first hit. I'd be out of commission for a couple weeks. Like, damn. So yeah, Ohio State, is the best team in the nation. I was one of the best teams in the nation, one of the top 3 teams in the nation. I think they're the most complete team in the nation. When you look at it, when you're talking about offensively and defensively, I think this team is as good as they come. But yeah, like you said, man, 19 and a half point underdog Michigan is. This is a down year for Michigan. Really, the quarterback play is what stands out for why Michigan is having such a terrible year this season. But I think that they will bounce back next year. Do I believe that they will win this game? No. But do I think it will be close? Yes. I do think this game will be a 1-score game, not a 3-score game like people are thinking it's going to be. It's a 1-score game against Ohio State. And I think Ohio State squeaks out a victory in the shoe, and it's a little bit too too close for comfort there for Ohio State. So I think they do squeak out this victory, but Michigan is going to play them tough. They're going to pull out all the strings, all the trick plays. Run the football like no other. They're going to try and control the clock against Ohio State if they can, because they know how Ohio State can really get. And the one thing I will say is I think Michigan's front could very well get after Will Howard. And if they could be, have some success, in this game. If you can get Mason Graham, getting to him, I know he's been, double teamed a lot or whatever the case is. But if you can get some of those guys getting into the backfield, putting pressure on Will Howard, it can be a closer game than what people think. So, but give me Ohio State to win that football game.
Yeah. Watch out for Mason Graham. I think he's going to be the key for Michigan in this game. And for Ohio State, if they can control the clock and if they can run the football, that's going to make life easy for these weapons on the outside and Carnell Tate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and look, when you look at Ohio State, man, they have some of the best weapons available, right? Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, it's and then Will Howard isn't as bad. Will Howard is has played very well. Transferring in from Kansas State. So this is a team that has been very good offensively. Quinshawn Juck and Stravion Henderson. Right, so they have so many weapons at their disposal. It's hard to keep up with. But yeah, I think Michigan, if they get pressure on Will Howard, I think this could be an interesting game for them. And then moving on to the Week 14 Heisman rankings, and we won't even have to talk about it. We talked about it early on in the show, but look, Christian, look at these rankings. Mm-hmm. It's Ashton Dante, it's Travis Hunter, and then I didn't even care to even write anybody else's name because it's everyone else after those two guys. Just you can invite a couple more people to keep them company. You can invite 2 or 3 guys to keep them company there. But ultimately, this award is coming down to 2 gentlemen, and that's Ashton Dante and Travis Hunter.
No, I agree with you completely. It's been a 2-man race pretty much throughout the year. These guys have been the 2 best players in the country all year, and I don't think it's been close.
I think when it comes to the voting, though, Christian, I think this is going to be one of the closest Heisman voting trophies that you'll see
in a long time.
In a long time. I think the vote, because it's 50-50. You don't know who. I mean, I think it's leaning more towards Ashton Dante, but it's more 50-50 than that because it's like half of the people, like Travis Hunter has, a hell of a following. Ashton Dante, everybody just sees the numbers and like, why can't this guy should be Heisman? He should be the Maxwell Trophy winner, shit like that. And so it's like, look, it's gonna be razor thin, a very close race, and I don't know who's gonna win it. I got Ashton Dante. But I wouldn't be mad if Travis Hunter won it either.
I wouldn't be mad if either guy.
Either guy won it. Either guy.
I wouldn't be I wouldn't be mad if either guy won it. I just can't wait to be out there Heisman Trophy night in New York City. I go every year. I was out there last year when Jaden won. I was out there the year when Caleb Williams won it. So yeah, we're gonna see who wins it. This has been a neck and neck Heisman race, something you haven't seen in quite some time. It's the most prestigious award in sports, and this club is about to welcome another recipient.
Absolutely, man. And that's been our show, ladies and gentlemen. Here, please like, share, subscribe to the podcast here at Prime Sports World on Facebook, YouTube, and you can catch us on streaming platforms where all podcasts can be heard. So catch us on there as well, and you can catch us on the Huddle Sports Network. And don't forget to catch Christian on the Daily Blitz.blog. But I am your host, Israel Rivera, here locking in another edition of the College Football Showdown with Christian Simpson from the Daily Blitz.blog. And ladies and gentlemen, in case I miss you and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen.
He just threw that off the backboard, Tracy McGrady style, for me to dunk it and say, holla at your boy.
Holla at your boy, and we'll see you guys Monday. Peace out. Have a great weekend. And
be safe.
Be safe and make sure to, don't eat too much of them leftovers, man. But hey, man, make sure y'all hit that gym afterwards. Get some of that ham and turkey off. You know what I'm saying, brother? Exactly, you know what I'm saying? Brother. Gotta get that off. Anyways, peace out. See y'all. Love y'all.
Yes, sir.